Good evening, everybody. This is Jason William Johnson, and welcome to PRL, where each week we use the power of personality science to unlock success in business and in relationships. I'm Jason William Johnson, as I stated earlier, and I'm excited about this evening's conversation. So those of you who've been joining me each week, I've had this superpower of being able to quickly assess people's Myers-Briggs type and then use that information to support them and help them grow in business and in other aspects of their life. And I just decided like 2 weeks ago is that I'm a like share this superpower with the world. So over the last couple weeks, I've been bringing people on each week. People who've had business questions, have relationship questions, and helping them figure out, how to answer those questions by leveraging their personality strength. So I'm really, really excited about tonight's guest. I've known her for a while, but I've never like actually tried to do her personality assessment. Her name is Chanel Yarber, and she is founder of Bright Girl Media. And without further ado, I'm about to bring Chanel on. Hey, Chanel, how you doing?
Hey, Jason.
Awesome, awesome. So, pretty much excited to have you this evening for this conversation, and just kind of hoping that you can find some value in this, and that we can, help you solve, or I can help you solve your problem. I'm saying we like the kings, we right. But I'm hoping we can like help. I can help you solve your problem this evening. Because I know you have a couple questions that you want to get into. So I'm gonna give you a little chance to like set the table and explain why you came on PRL this evening.
Sure. So, thanks for having me. First of all, I'm really excited. I know you're really into the personality readings, and I've always found great insight in the work that you do. So, as you know, 10 years ago, I started my business. We started my business, you and I actually, and started my brand out of one of these types of assessments, just kind of going through and figuring out what I wanted to convey to my clients and how I wanted to brand myself and all those things. And I'm coming up on my 10-year anniversary in my business on Sunday.
Turn up, turn up.
Yes,
Where we
it'll be
popping bottles
10
at? Where we at?
years. Oh my God. Lord, we need to pop all the bottles. But so I'm coming up on 10 years and I'm at a place where I feel like not only just in life, it's weird because I started my business as I was entering a new decade, and now it's 10 years later and I'm entering another new decade of life. And just trying to figure out what's a good fit for me. I feel like I'm an entrepreneur at heart, but that doesn't necessarily mean to me that I need to work on my own, or be a solopreneur, or even be the one that carries the work forward. I could just be the visionary. I don't know, but I'm just trying to figure it out because I feel like I've had quite a few bumps in the road along the way, and I just want to find something that creates harmony in my life. So that's why I'm
Awesome,
here.
awesome. So I know when you originally reached out, you was thinking about like, okay, you're trying to decide, do you need to hire a CEO, just hire a COO, and now you're just like, period, like, how do I get alignment overall, with what I'm trying to do and take the next stages as far as an entrepreneur and with your business. So,
Yeah.
pretty much, we're gonna start off by doing a little verbal personality assessment, and then from there, once we know your type, we can kind of get into the conversation on, what makes sense for you based on your unique personality characteristics and things like that. And then try to align whatever you're trying to do, whether it's a strategic hire, whether it's a pivot, try to align that with your personality strength. So pretty much, let's get into it. There's four different dimensions of human personality type. And I'm going to ask you what your preference is on each of those. So I'm gonna have four situations where I describe two types of people, and in each one of those situations, tell me which one sounds more like you. Now, if there's an instance where both of them sound really, really similar, or they both sound like, oh, I'm a little bit of both, pick the one that you would choose. If somebody put a gun to your head in the alley and said, "Are you an I or you an E?" I need to know right now. Like, choose that. So
Okay.
select that one, and then that endorsement was brought by the NRA. I'm just playing, but
That's funny.
they in a lot of trouble right now with everything that's going
Man.
on. But pretty much what so we're gonna go ahead and get into the assessment. So the first dimension of human personality focuses on how you prefer to recharge. The first type of person recharges by being around others. If you think about like a video game, socializing and being around others increases their energy bar. Pretty much, they enjoy doing activities outside of themselves. And if it's a long week, like they would prefer to be around others to recharge. The second type of person recharges by being alone. They may enjoy socializing, but after a while, it drains their energy bar. And after a while, they need to get alone, reflect, read a book, be alone with their own thoughts in order to recharge. So think about it like if it's at the end of the week and you're about to chill, you would rather somebody with this preference would rather be alone than be around others. They'll cut off their phone, ignore everybody, and you nod in your head like the second one's you.
That's me.
So,
yes, I thrive in solitude. So yes.
all right. Okay. Second dimension focuses on what type of information you prefer. The first type of person prefers information that's concrete and tangible. They prefer information that's in their physical environment. If they can't touch it, see it, taste it, or smell it, it doesn't hold as much value. They like things that are tried, true, and proven and aren't really open to experimentation. They're more present oriented than future oriented and more detail oriented than big picture. The second type of person lives in the world of ideas and concepts. They love like finding connections and data. They love, finding connections between seemingly unrelated things. They're more future oriented than present oriented, and they're more big picture than they are, detail oriented. Which one are you?
The second one is definitely me.
Number 2. All right. Third dimension focuses on how you prefer to make decisions. The first type of person makes decisions based on what they perceive to be a set of logical rules and principles. They don't consider their feelings or the feelings of others as much as the information itself. They strive to be more objective in their decision making, and the facts are more important than the human element. Pretty much, they try to trust their mind more than in their heart. The second type of person makes decisions based on the human element. So they consider their feelings and the feelings of others and the impact of their decision on others. When trying to make a decision, they make decisions based on values more so than facts. They trust their heart ultimately more than their mind. So if their heart's not in it, it's really difficult for them to go against that when they're making a decision. Which one sounds more like you?
I'm definitely more hearts and values centered.
Okay. Last dimension focuses on how you prefer to structure your lifestyle. The first type of person is more organized and structured. They're going to have their coffee at 9, their lunch at 12, their dinner at 5. They plan everything out, even their social and leisure time. And then these individuals, if their schedule falls apart, it frustrates them. So if somebody calls at the last minute and cancels, it's going to really, really upset them. And the second type, and so they like to come to resolutions. They like to come to conclusions when making this, when having things resolved in their life. They need to know what time they're going to do things, where things should be placed in their household and in their office. So as a result, they tend to be very organized in their home, and those type of things. The second type of person kind of goes with the flow more. So they'll have some things that they want to accomplish, but they'll let the day take care of it. These individuals are, very, very flexible. So if something comes up and they have to push a deadline back, if it's not mission critical, they have no problem doing it several times. And these individuals also tend to have a hard time coming to decisions. They like to get as much information as possible before, coming to a decision. And ultimately, these individuals are just more flexible. They're great at improvising, and they just kind of go with the flow.
That last one's kind of hard because I see some of me in both, but really, if I, like you said, if I had a gun to my head, I would have to go with the first one. When you started talking about living by your calendar and not not being flexible, I'm like, yeah, that's me. Because you cancel some meetings on me, I'm liable to never want to talk to you again.
It's just a wrap, huh? So if I had to cancel the broadcast, you'd be like, Jay,
we don't do reschedules over here. We don't do none of that. No, if you want to talk to me again, you got to pay the next time. You respect my time.
No, that's right.
That's so bad, but
there's nothing wrong with that. You just being, you're just being true to yourself. So give me 1 second. I'm just processing what you told me. Just trying to think through it. While also trying to wait for your reveal to upload. um,
Uh,
you are an INFJ personality type. I usually have like my Jamaican what the blood clot like thing processing, but for some reason it's been acting funny. But you're an INFJ personality type, and pretty much let's go ahead and get into what that means. So you're an introvert, which means you recharge by being alone. You're intuitive, which means that you're more abstract. You live in the idea world of concepts and ideas. You're a feeler, which means you make decisions based on value and the human element. And then you're a judger, which means you're more organized and structured. But from your judging and your perceiving, it seems like you may be able to flex because it seems like you're really, really close on those two. So
Inspire.
but yeah. So pretty much, I'll give you a little bit about your personality type. So first and foremost, your dominant function is what they call introverted intuition. So with introverted intuition, these individuals who lead with this as a dominant function have an innate ability to just sense things. Their intuition, as the pastors will say, the gift of discernment, right?
Ooh.
So you may find that you're able to like just naturally know what's going on with people without them being able to say much. You might just randomly get an urge to call somebody, and you find out something's really, really going on with them. Also, you may be prone, and it depends on how strong it is. You may be prone to like premonitions as far as being able to see things in advance. My wife's an INTJ, and their dominant function is also introverted intuition. And she pretty much is able to identify. Like she had a situation with her brothers, they're twins, her stepbrothers, and she told them like, do not ride together in the car tonight. And one of them had an accident, and the way the car got hit, if both of them were riding together, one of them would have been really, really badly injured. So like, that's an extreme version of it. But people with the dominant function of introverted intuition, they tend to be able to quickly identify and intuit things. They can't tell you logically why.
Don't know why I know this. Like, why do I know this? Yes, that is
just
so
know,
neat.
and you're usually right.
Yes.
So,
oh my God. And it's so hard to convince people that I know what I'm saying because I don't have concrete facts.
But you're right.
Sometimes I sound like I'm like rambling or crazy, but I'm like, no, like for real, I know that this is
no. So trust that,
now.
right? So trust that feeling because it's usually spot on. So your auxiliary function is what they call extroverted feeling. So extroverted feeling is the function that causes us to show care and concern for others externally. So you tend to be very, caring, supportive of others. You're probably that friend that people call and, talk to for hours. You probably are like really, really inspirational to people. You advise them, you guide them. But the thing is only to an extent. So you're part of the inspirer temperament, and people with the inspirer temperament, ENFP, INFP, ENFJ, INFJ, they'll definitely support you and do whatever they can to support you until they realize that you're not really right. Yep. You're not listening, and you're not invested in your own success. All you do is complain, right?
Oh my God,
once y'all feel that, it's a wrap. It's a wrap, right? And it's not even a cognitive decision. You just can't.
I have no more energy to give to this. Like, stop going around in circles with me. I'm tired. I can't.
And another thing with the inspired temperament, you guys are super cool until values cross. So like you can go from Mother Teresa to Tupac and like in a hot flash, and people are like, where this come from? Because a value was crossed and violated, right? So, you're value-oriented individuals, and when that value is particularly crossed, then, you can like really, really, transform on folks, and become, rebellious, become a advocate for people's cause, especially if you see like some unjustness in the world, unfairness, and things like that. So that's just like a little bit about the INFJ personality type. You guys tend to be very good at one-to-one counsel with others. You tend to be very good at writing. You know what I mean? And like big idea people. Like you really have an ability to come up with a lot of amazing ideas, and iterate and brainstorm and things like that. So that's just a little bit about your personality. I can use some
That's
resources
a lot about my personality.
yeah,
Like it's spot on too. That's crazy.
okay, awesome. So pretty much let's kind of talk about what your questions are in the context of an INFJ. So let's kind of talk about it in that context, right? So pretty much you're feeling this urge, you said, to kind of transition into something else potentially. Or if you're going to keep the business, you need to make a strategic hire to like keep it going. Like, I got to ask you, are you feeling like a misalignment with your values and the business right now? And is that kind of part of the impetus of like why you're kind of questioning things? Like, I know oftentimes new decades lead, or the beginning of a new decade leads to new, reassessment of things and stuff like that. So I'm just wondering, is that the case or maybe not?
I kind of feel like I'm having, oh Lord Jesus, Jason, okay, let me not get emotional here. I kind of feel like I'm going through a midlife crisis. Okay. I'm getting ready to turn 40 next month. And it's like the things that I did in my 30s. I started this business at 29, getting ready to be 30. And the things that I did then and what mattered to me then doesn't really matter to me anymore. Um, then it was more about the creativity. It was more about me being able to express my gift, which is, communication and creative communication, marketing, all that good stuff. It was more about that. It was more about me trying to brand myself and stake a claim to be seen, because I had, like, for so long been tossed around in my career. Now I just want the freedom. Like, if I was, in a place of financial freedom, I would probably just like travel and live different experiences and not really be bogged down with the minutia of running the business. So it's just like reflecting on the past 10 years, just trying to figure out if all the effort that I've put in is worth me maintaining, or if it's just like I need a realignment. That's kind of where.
So, pretty much one of the challenges when you're like a small business, is really the challenge of just basically you just go from working for somebody to your job, for you working for yourself, but you just own your job, right? In the
Mhm.
sense that like you still have to exchange time for money, right? And when you run your own business, it's more than those 8 hours a day or those 40 hours a
Mm.
week that you have when
It
you're
never goes away.
yeah, when you have a job. So
Yeah.
the thing is what you want to try to create is a configuration of processes and systems and people, not excluding yourself, that generates value for customers,
Not
right?
excluding.
Yeah, so that's
I'm
what you want to
sorry.
create, right? You want to create this configuration of systems, processes, and people, contractors or employees, et cetera, that generates value and does it whether you're involved with it day to day or not, right? So if you're going to keep the business, it becomes about how do you scale, right? And
Mhm.
that's why I think like where you may lie, because it seems like obviously you're passionate about the work that you're doing, but you're also passionate about like creating a lifestyle for yourself, right? So you want to think about the balance of those two things, right? And one of the things I always say, like, always don't say I can't, say how can I, right? Because some people will be like, well,
Mhm.
I can't continue to, I got to close this business because I got to do everything myself. I can't, whatever. How can we create scale? How can we
Yeah.
create freedom for you in the business? And I think that's one of the things that we kind of need to like think about and try to understand. So give me a little bit of more information about like your operations, if you don't mind. Like how does your operations go?
Sure. So first of all, I want to say I don't know. Like I feel like I know this is a personality reading, but you are so into. Are you like an intuitive person too? Because something that I
People
wrote
tell me like
in
people have told me this is like a psychic gift I have.
I swear I
I've
feel
been
like
doing
I'm
this for
like,
like
what
20
is going
years.
on here? This is
Yeah, but it's science. The letters. The letters hold the key to my powers. It's just what it boils down to. But like from the business standpoint, like you need to like figure out like how to scale and how to like automate certain things. And now the thing
So
is with you being an INFJ and being an introvert and a whole assessment to kind of tell you like the degree to which you're a I, because like like you might be like at the 49-51 spectrum where you can flex extroversion easily and go introvert, or you could be like on the far end, right? But like in general, introverts have like if you have a heavily intensive business where your business model requires you to like engage with people regularly, that's going to exhaust you. And that's going to tire you out.
like I want to hire a client success manager yesterday because I don't want to talk to I don't want to talk to people anymore. I don't want to get on these calls and listen to them ramble and go around and like I know this is about to sound so bad and this is going up on my doggone channel. But it's the truth. Like you're right. I get so exhausted. I give so much of myself. And a lot of times in my consultations, I'm pouring like, just like you're pouring into me right now, I'm pouring based upon the knowledge of what I've studied. And so it's like I'm giving, giving, giving. And then I'm just like, oh my God, I just want to crawl underneath a blanket. I have to take naps almost every day because I'm so drained. So at the beginning of the year, one of the things, well, the end of the year, end of 2021, one of the things that I wrote as my major goal was to fully automate my entire business. So you're right on track with where I've been trying to focus. It's just that some things just popped up last quarter that like really, really threw me off track and got me, into a tizzy. So the fact that you talked about automating and hiring and all of that is it's letting me know that I'm at least in the right lane.
So how do we go from thinking about it to doing it, right? And the thing is, one of the obstacles you can have as an INFJ is you're a perfectionist, and you can potentially have this paralysis of analysis that prevents you from moving forward. Because it's like you're always thinking about the best scenario, what I should do, this, that, and then kind of just having that perfectionism. Do you deal with that? Like, is that like something that I'm accurate on?
I do. Because I know the way that I like things to look. I know the experience that I want to create for my clients or potential clients when they come in touch with my business. And if it does not look or feel right, I feel like it's done half-assed and I can't vouch for it. So you're right, it does keep me kind of stuck or like going around and around in circles on certain things where I really could just pull the trigger and move forward. And everybody else is like, "Oh, that's great." And I'm like, "No, that ain't."
Your standard's going
So
to be higher than others. Like, especially if it's something that you care about in general, your standard's going to be higher than others. And everybody's not going to be up to your level. Like sometimes like done is better than perfect. And
I get
sometimes
that
you
all
can't
the
even
time.
get to perfect until you get like customer feedback, right? You can't
Mm,
even get to perfect because you'll hypothesize about how it should go, things like that, and then you'll put a trigger on it, and then you still be wrong. You know what I mean? So like the
mhm.
sooner if like you can rechannel that perfectionism by including putting it out there and getting real-time feedback as part of the perfection process, right? So instead of saying I can't put this out because this is gonna be half-ass or this, that, whatever, like know that in order to get to perfection, you got to put it out there anyway and get that feedback to like kind of help you and inform those things. I know when I had my startup, like I had whole hypotheses on like how the platform should work, what people would want, and the things that I was adamant against when we put it out there with customers. Um, they were like, "We want this," and
Mm,
and I was wrong on a lot of different things, and we incorporated those things, right? So pretty much, you like just look at that in order to like use your INFJ perfectionism in a useful way. Like just incorporate that into your perfection process, knowing that you got to put it out there, put a minimally viable product out there, put a minimally, or a minimally viable version of a new process you want to introduce into your business or fill in the blank, and you perfect it with that real-time feedback.
that is very good feedback because yes, that'll at least get me that'll at least get me out there, because I
and get
start
you
so many
going.
things and then I'm like, oh no, I don't like it, and then I just scrap it instead of just like moving forward. Because like I said, every like when I do things, it's always received well, and I'm like, when is somebody gonna tell me this sucks? Like somebody tell me that this sucks because I think it sucks. So
Yeah,
I
your
don't
standards
know.
may just be higher than everybody else's. Like,
Mm,
so pretty much, yeah, like as Tresetta said in the post, it doesn't have to in the comments, it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be sane. That's 100. Really, really
mm,
good feedback. So like what are the things that you hate about your current business model right now? What are the things? Give me the three things that you just want to focus on only, and the three things you want to just not do at all if you didn't have to do them.
mm.
Let's start with the things you don't want to do first.
Like me personally, or just in the business itself?
In the business
Okay.
itself.
Um, the things that I hate. Oh,
Or drain you.
okay. So those client calls, like
Hate,
I just said.
drain, all of the things that have a negative impact on you.
Yeah.
But need to be done are necessary evils.
Yep. Those client calls. That's number one. I really want to get away from that. Like if I could just zone out and be the creative and like get the work done, or delegate the work and project manage the work and not have to like talk to people and onboard people, I could really be in my zone of genius. Um, but for whatever reason, people like talking to me. So I don't know. Anyway, but that part.
Right.
So that's one. Two. So I've done a lot of outsourcing or white labeling. No, Trisetta, the funny part about that, she said selling. No, I actually like selling. It's weird. Like when I'm talking to people on the phone and I'm selling, I'm normally good because I always have an objective in my mind. It's just when they start coming back and forth with a whole bunch of foolishness is when it like drains me. And it happens a lot. So um and I have a lesson that I learned based upon that too. It was really mainly the people that I was attracting at some point, and their level of proficiency and where they were in business. It was draining me, so that caused me to have to like go back and try to reorganize my ideal client avatar. So that was one. Two. Oh, so I outsourced quite a few things. Have freelancers and things like that. Um, but I really don't care to continue to work like that because I need people that have ownership of their work and they're not just like thinking of it as a project. I want them to like buy into the brand and understand fully what it is that they're doing so that they can deliver, not necessarily at the level that I deliver, but at least with the same heart and the same intent that I deliver. So that's another thing that has frustrated me is just finding really good, you know, good people to work with. And the third, um, I think the third goes into like the automation thing. It's just like the lead gen and just making sure that I have a steady pipeline. Those are the things that keep me up at night.
All right, got you. So I
Mhm.
always say if you so there's a couple different ways to solve the problems of like getting like the things off your plate that you don't enjoy doing. Automation is one. Hiring or contracting is another one. As far as like a client success manager, I always tell like people who are solopreneurs thinking they're looking for their first hire, like what are the operational things or the things in the business that are necessary that you hate, that you like doing the least. That's your first hire, in
Mhm.
general, right? Because and because those taking those things off your plate re-energizes you and allow you to be able to be creative, right? So there's a couple different options, right? There you can do the as far as the onboarding. I mean, you could automate that because I'm sure you have standard questions that you ask,
Mhm.
and things like that. A great tool to use, and you actually used it when you signed up to get on the show, is Video Ask. Remember that tool that you
Yeah, I
use?
really like that.
it's a really good tool. But what's great about it is that it allows you to like for them to get a feel for you. So they'll it's video and
Mm.
they'll and you can ask the questions that they need and they can respond. And the cool thing about it is you can respond at your leisure. So all of those responses actually go to your inbox, and then you can reply via video message back, via text back, or whatever that medium is. And so it gives you so you can get all of the questions answered and actually have a conversation with them without you just sitting there and having a conversation and it devolving into other things and people being off onto a tangent. Because like if they're just only answering what's being prompted to them, that can help with your onboarding process as far as so they'll still get you, but it's not like you're having this conversation with them. You can reply at leisure, as needed and things like that. So that's a way to automate your process. Zendesk is another tool that you can use. You can do like a bot, and then you can like pre-program it with the certain responses that need to be done and things like that. But there are like client success solutions where you can automate those things and you don't necessarily need to hire somebody per se. So before you go to hiring route, I would actually look and see which one of those solutions may fit for you. Video ask, Typeform, if you just want to keep it simple. But like, yeah, those are things that you can use to kind of like ramp up your onboarding process and kind of take the emotional energy away from it, because pretty much you're also an empath. INFJs tend to be empaths. So like what ends up happening is that if there's like a heaviness to their energy or like something like that with their energy, you will feel that and it'll affect you. So like it also protects you from that also. So I would think about like how you can automate those things, because if those are the only core things that are like the challenges with the business, those are just operational solutions you can come up with to resolve and then allow you to be able to focus on your creativity and things like that. Another thing I would think about doing is I would kind of think about like strategically scaling, right? Where like maybe like less and less of you gets involved in the business, per like over a period of time. Like, so pretty much I know you I know you kind of have challenges with like dealing with contractors, but there are some dope ones out there. You just got to find them, right? One of the things that I always tell people is like whether they looking for like the perfect job, perfect partner, perfect employee, write down a checklist of all of the things of what that ideal person would be, because then like that way when you come across them it. A lot of times you'll come across the right person and you don't know it because you don't got the criteria directly that's accessible. You know what I mean? So sometimes we got to make things accessible. We got to write that checklist down, be super specific about it. If you believe in manifestation, that plays into that as well. That's beyond the scope of this conversation, but we can like chat about that as well. But ultimately, by creating that list, then when you see those individuals, you can you'll know, and because you will have the criteria like top of mind. And then it's almost like an ideal customer avatar, basically, for ideal like avatar for like your ideal contractors, right? And then pretty much what you may also want to do is like maybe incorporate them into the brand a little bit more and into the business, where like maybe I don't know if you're giving them like their own Bright Girl emails or like things like that. Like think about how you can give them a sense of ownership in the business as well. And kind of think about that also, like how you can like, because that's one of your gifts, setting the vision, articulating and making people get inspired, motivated. So use that energy like as you come across contractors that work well with you to be able to like kind of create that sense of ownership, create that shared sense of vision. Because a lot of times we make our relationships with contractors transactional, so we get transactional work, as opposed to thinking about how can I incorporate. So if they're going to be doing work on behalf of my brand, like how can I integrate with them? How can I get them excited about the vision? How do I create a vision and I let them know this is where we're trying to go, and this is why I see you at as going part of that, right? Like when you're able to create that level of engagement, you know, people like, it's like they're not employees, but they become like part of your team. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
They're not formal employees, but they become part of your team until you get to the point where you can scale and you can bring them on like permanently and things like that, right? So think about how you
Mhm.
can leverage your contractors in that way. Like, okay, you know, maybe this contractor, you give them a title within the organization or things like that. Because if you create transactional relationships with contractors, a lot of times you're gonna get transactional work. So how do you create like a relationship and true relationship and have that show up in the passion? And people want to be part of something bigger than themselves, right?
Mhm.
So like if you create this vision, you find them people that you work well with, you engage them more in the business, then ultimately what ends up happening is they start trying to help you, you know, get to that vision because you're showing them how they are part of it. And as an INFJ, you know, you're naturally like inspirational. So like, you know, use that gift, that vision, that articulating the vision, that understanding people's needs, like understanding their unique strengths and where to position them at. Like you have those gifts as an INFJ. Like
Mm.
figure out how you can use those to create more like visceral relationships as opposed to transactional relationships with your contractors.
I like that. As you were talking, it made me, I was just reflecting on some of the contractors that I have worked with, and one stands out like bar none. And I loved working with her. And what you're saying, I'm like, yeah, I think I did that with her. So that makes perfect sense. That
Yeah.
makes perfect sense.
So then you're building a team, right? So
Hmm.
even though like they're not employees, like paperwork wise, they're part of your team, right? And you're paying them, you know, as a contractor until you're able to scale, et cetera, et cetera. But they're part of your team. Like when I had like identity engineers, so you know, you were one of my clients for identity engineers. When I had that business, I had a all my whole team was contractors, but they had titles, you know what I
Mm.
mean? And they had roles and responsibilities, etc. But everybody was paid as contractors, you know, but they were part of my team. They was on the website. They were, you know, we had weekly meetings. Like I engaged them fully, you know, and people were like, man, Jason got like 6 employees. Nah, they was all contractors. But we made it do what it do. And they were part of the vision. They were part of the business. They had titles, the whole situation. Like one of the things that I even did with the sales, and this might be a good strategy. It's a good strategy I typically tell people. You bring on a salesperson, right? What you do is so you ultimately look at it from this standpoint. Let's say you come up with a percentage. I'm gonna give them 15%, 20% commission or whatever they bring in, right? What I did was I had one like sales manager who was a contractor, right? Got 20% of whatever they brought in as far as business wise, et cetera, et cetera. But then I told them you can create your own team, you know, of
Mhm.
folks, pay them, they got paid 15% of whatever they brought in, and he got the other five.
Mhm.
So now, you know, I had like a sales team of like 10 people all over Chicago, you know, selling websites, you know, like selling consulting things and everything and all of that. And they were all contractors. And I just built the 20% cost as the cost of doing business. That was my cost of goods sold. You know what I mean? I just built that into the cost of business and built that into the pricing. But I had like a whole team, I had a team of 10 salespeople, like, so, you know, I had one gentleman who was leading the team and he built his team. And what's cool about that model is scalable because whatever the deal is, you're only spending 20% whatever the
Right.
deal is, but you can have 3 sales managers. You know what I mean? I never took it that far, but you could theoretically have 3 and you know they out there trying to get it. So like there's strategies you can take to move yourself out of the business, right? So pretty much you run that sales strategy, right? You automate your onboarding process. You find those contractors that you work with and you build them as part of your team. Now you're able to kind of start stepping away from the business more. You're generating a little bit, you're generating more revenue. You know, you start building those relationships and that rapport with them teams. Now you can start bringing folks actually on, have somebody like manage it and kind of step away a little bit more and not be as involved with it and be on to the next one or sipping a margarita, you know, and San Tropez or whatever you want to
Oh,
do,
San
right?
Tropez. Come on, San Tropez. That's where I want to be tomorrow. No.
So so there's that's like so pretty much like that's kind of how you think about it. Like treat your relationship with your contractors different. Build that team, build that connection, get them excited about that vision. and just like, like you can find yourself eventually starting to step away from the business a little bit more as your team becomes more cohesive, and you start developing that trust.
I love that. I love that. Yes, Trisetta, this is really helpful. She said this is really helpful. It is
So
really
what I
helpful.
would do, if I was you, next step, go write job descriptions of
It's funny
every.
because as you I literally in my head before you just said that, I was like, I need to pull out my job descriptions and revamp those.
Yeah, write job
Yeah.
descriptions, like put it on the website, like you hiring, do the whole situation, like
Hmm.
treat it like that way, like for real, for real.
Hmm.
Like, because the job descriptions, like oftentimes, like in order to like attract the people, you need to make space, right? You need to be able to identify who they are and know who they are, right? So that job description outlines the characteristics, the strengths, all of the things that you need, responsibilities, and it also creates space in your organization for those individuals. And then those people come. Like, people ain't gonna come, ain't no room for them to come to sit in, or no chair for them at the table. So you got to create that chair for them, and know and be able to create that chair in a way where there's space for them, but you recognize who that space is for by understanding the type of person that you need to have in that particular role.
This is so good. Man, this is so good. Like, it's so simple, but it's so good. Thank you.
And then in general, your particular personality type, as you start thinking about your team, you tend to work well with other people with an intuitive sensing, with an intuitive preference. So in general, the second letter, the N versus the S, is the communication like letter. So, like, whether you communicate more concrete or more abstractly, et cetera, you're going to naturally be attracted to other people who have an intuitive preference. So ENFJ, INFJ, like you, INFP, ENFP, ENTJ, INTJ, ENTP, INTP, those 8 types. Those are actually only 25% of the population. So 75% of the population has a sensing preference. Their second letter is an S. Only 25% of the population has the intuitive preference. And that's why sometimes when you connect with certain people, like when me and you first met, like,
It
it's
was a
like, oh yeah,
vibe.
you dope, man. Like,
It
it's
was a
just
vibe.
because you speak that same language. Like you and
Yeah.
LeVar, same thing. You know what I mean? Like, he's an ENFJ, right? So it's like that. It's like that shared language, right? So, pretty much, like, as you think about what building out your team, like, that may be beneficial. But there's also some value to having people with a sensing preference as well, especially with a sensing, thinking, judging preference. The ESTJs, your ISTJs, your ISFJs, which are the guardian temperament, period, or what I call the manager temperament. Anybody with an SJ preference, ESTJ, ISTJ, ESFJ, or ISFJ. Like, if you're talking about like organizing something and making sure something runs like a well-oiled machine, that particular temperament, the manager temperament, is really, really good at that, because they're very good at managing resources, time, money, et cetera, et cetera. So, you're not going to get as much of that intuitive connection with them per se. It's going to be more about like, what's the day's agenda, what needs to be done, et cetera, et cetera. But those are good folks to think about as well, as
Yeah, I
far as
need
working with
somebody
them
like
as
that.
well.
I need somebody like that just to kind of keep me grounded, because I'm up here in the air sometimes. I'm like, I'm very visionary. So a lot of times I do need that person that's going to make it tactical and break it down and
Right. And they'll be able
get
to
into the
take, people
minutia.
with those
Yeah.
temperaments in general have the natural gift of being able to take like 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 an idea and like execute it, like, or operate on it. Like, you may have to narrow it down to the point of being able to get clear instructions. They may not be able to deduce down as much, or that may not be their natural gift. But if you can deduce it down to like and operationalize it, they'll execute on it and bang it out. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
but like maybe like somebody with an INTJ preference or an ENTJ preference, they have the unique expertise. They have the unique combination of the ability to be able to take an idea, even improve on it, and then like execute on it as well. So you may find yourself like needing like somebody with a I call that the analyst temperament. So ENTJ, INTJ, ENTP is one, and INTP is one. Those people are really good at like synthesizing ideas and coming up with systems. But
Mm.
like with the ENTJ having the judging preference and the INTJ having the judging preference, they're also good at like actually executing on those things as well.
Hmm. Okay. This is so good. I'm gonna have to go back and like watch this and rewatch this again. This is so good. This is better than
Oh,
I thought it was gonna be.
I
Not that
mean,
I didn't think it was gonna be
I aim to,
good.
I aim to, deliver. But like pretty much like hopefully that kind of gives you like some things to start with as far as moving
Mhm.
forward on like deciding what you want to do. Like I think like obviously if you've built a brand over 10 years, you got clients, you got regular, customers coming in, you don't want to just kill a business and start all over from scratch, right? You want to like think about how you can scale and elevate that. Like overnight success is like 15, 20 years in the making sometimes, right? Like so like I mean, you got 10 in, like it may be the question may be it's time to scale and thinking about how you can scale because like being that one person shop may not be as sustainable, especially with what you want to do now.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, because I'm like, man, like I done spent the whole decade. I'm by myself. I don't have any children. I don't know that I'm gonna have any, but I'm just looking at like other um aspects of my life that I feel like I sacrificed in a way. And I'm like, how can I make room? And my business takes up a huge piece of of my life. And so it's just like, what can I
So think
do?
about how can you make space and keep the business. Like
Yeah,
don't say I can't like make space because I got my business. How can I make space?
right.
And operate my business. Think about it from that standpoint. And then people popping children out at 45, 46, 47. So don't even count yourself out the game on that one. Don't even count
Woo!
yourself out the game on that one.
That's scary to me. Like, uh,
Moderate medicine doing some dope stuff, yo.
I ain't trying to be Janet Jackson out here,
It's extended, yeah.
50
But
years old with a
I mean,
5-year-old.
but I say that to say this though, and I don't mean to get into that, but like if that's your heart's desire, just in general, whatever you want to do, like I mean, if they, like like I feel like people like should own whatever their desires are personally, professionally, et cetera, and like and operate like from an expectation and a sense that you deserve it, right? Because that sense of deserving and that sense of expectations was going to bring that in. And again, I'm getting to the whole manifestation, law of attraction thing, which is like what I live my life by, and I've got like receipts on how it works. But that's
I
beyond
know.
that's beyond the scope of this conversation. But pretty much, if you don't have any additional questions or any final thoughts, we can.
No, this was just really insightful. It was really good. Um, I knew you were the person. I mean, you helped me. You literally distilled my ideas and what I wanted to do and what I wanted to convey 10 years ago into the brand that I have now. So it was like, this has been like a full circle moment for me to come back and say, okay,
Like a
now
10
I'm
year
10
reunion.
years in the game. Now, what the hell do I do next, Jason?
Like a 10-year reunion.
Man, I mean, I remember we sat and I mean, you're always going to be a part of my business story because we sat for like a half a afternoon, and I almost was like, if Jason asked me one more question, I swear to God, like. But
We
you
made it
asked
do what
me
it do
such
though.
good questions, and it really helped me to formulate my brand. And it's funny because you're right. People see it now and they're like, I knew that was you. I just knew it was you. I read something and I knew that was you. And I'm just like, really? So so the brand does have value and it does reflect me. And I think that's been a huge part of um the midlife crisis, if you will. Is like separating my identity from the business and figuring out what direction to take it next. So this has been really helpful.
Awesome, awesome. Well, it was a pleasure conversing with you. Um,
Always.
yeah, definitely enjoyed the conversation. Hopefully I was able to be of some assistance. And looking forward to, seeing your success and your growth moving forward.
Thank you. Thank you. And when I come to kicking in summertime shy, I'll have to look you and Jahar and Jody
I'm
up.
in your neck of the woods now. I moved to Indiana. I'm in
Oh,
Northwest
I
Indiana.
did see that.
Yeah, I'm in
Yes,
Crown Point.
congratulations on the
I'm
house.
from your root. I'm in your I'm an Indiana now.
I
So
think you not an Indiana. I think you moved to my like my old city too. We'll talk offline
let's
about
talk
it.
offline. Let's talk offline.
Yeah.
But it was
Okay.
good. It was good. It was good. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you.
All right, Chanel. All right, thank you everybody for joining us. Who joined me on this session this evening or joined us? Hopefully, you were able to glean some insights. We'll be back. So next week I'll be out of town traveling for work, but we'll be picking back up. Was that June 22nd? Every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central. Personality readings live. We're going to be doing a little bit of a remix with the branding and everything, and focusing more on business moving forward. But those details will be coming soon. And once again, thank everybody for joining us this evening, and I will see you guys soon.